Marlene Norcross. I've been a real estate agent now for 3 years, but I've been in real estate for over 30 years with my husband, Wayne Norcross. We own City Real Estate, and we believe that our community involvement is what makes our brokerage strong. Our agents are localized specialists in all 5 of our offices. I personally participate in the Ellis County Museum, and I'm on their board. We participate with SPCA, the Downtown Merchants Associations, and many of the school programs locally. We believe community involvement is the backbone of City Real Estate. Last year I did $20 million in sales with over 79 transactions. That was a lot of happy clients, but what I'm most excited about is seeing that client get a new home or my sellers start their next journey. I love the thrill of the sale. So today, I thought it would be fun to bring Vanessa Zamolik in and let's talk about the market. So this is Vanessa Zamolik with Guild Mortgage. Vanessa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been in the mortgage industry for 30 years, starting in processing and then in sales, and have done all aspects of mortgage, so I have a pretty good background in it. I'm with Guild Mortgage, and I've been working with them 11 years, and we just enjoy doing mortgages, and we do all kinds for our customers and work really close with our real estate agents.
So if you're ready to buy or sell, I'm Marlene Norcross with City Real Estate. The best way to get a hold of me is to call me or text me at 512-431-4413. And I also want to make sure you know how to get a hold of Vanessa so you can start the loan process.
You can get a hold of me, Vanessa Zamolik, at Guild Mortgage, 469-337-4578. And you can apply at my website, www.vanessazamolik.com.
So let's go house hunting.
Hi Ellis County, I'm Amy Trull, and I'm back with Becky Lynn in Becky's Kitchen. And today we are going to make a soup, and it is made with andouille sausage and collard greens. And Becky's going to show us all the things and what to do, and so that you can make this at home. And so let's get started.
Okay, well, I saw this recipe in the newspaper, and it said andouille and collard green soup. And it was a Cajun recipe, so I had to try it. And I really didn't know anything about andouille, except I never bought it before. And I didn't know anything about collard greens. So I made the soup last week, and we liked it. It really has a great flavor. So I wanted to share that recipe with y'all today. But I thought, I think I'll just look up andouille and see what's in it, because I'm convinced it was the andouille that flavored the soup. Mm-hmm. And I looked, well, it originated in France many years ago, and andouille is a French word, but it was made with the pig's whole intestine, digestive system. And I went, oh my gosh, and I almost stopped there, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to find something. What can I replace it with? I read further. Okay, so now American andouille, thank goodness, is made with pork shoulder, sometimes called Boston butt. So we're okay. But it's very strongly spiced with hot peppers and garlic and onions and things, but probably what sets it apart from a lot of other sausages is it's smoked twice. It's the Boston butt is smoked, and then when they grind it up and put it all together in the casing, then they smoke the sausage. Okay. So we're safe.
Very
and
cool.
It really has a good flavor.
And so
the collard greens, I decided, well, I need to look those up. They surely are healthy because they look like kale, and they're actually related to kale. And they're a very southern dish, cheap and easy to find, and bitter. Yes, very bitter. You can't just tear them up and put them in a salad or something like that. They need to be braised or stewed for a long time. And so that's how they mainly cook them, and they would put like ham hocks or, that in there.
It's like comfort food.
Yeah, and cook it all day, and actually the juice that was left is called pot liquor. And it's like a prized ingredient because it's just so flavorful. So basically, I think this soup is kind of like pot liquor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very thin, like a broth type soup. But anyway, so you need 12 ounces of andouille, and I took the casings off and I chopped it up. And almost every package of andouille sausage that I've seen comes in 12 ounces. So,
Yeah.
you need that. You need, it said, a bunch of collard greens. So I bought a bunch of collard greens, and I'm going to show you how to prep those in a little bit. An onion. Then fire roasted diced tomatoes, chicken stock, garlic powder, crushed red pepper, and I think this also is a secret ingredient, smoked paprika.
Huh.
And that's basically all the ingredients. So we need to get started. We need to turn the stove on.
Okay.
And this burner is kind of
Let you do that.
tricky.
So we're going to start by browning this sausage, correct?
It's got 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan right now. And so you put the andouille in there first. And while she's going to, you brown that for like 5 minutes or so. And then it calls for onion, but thank goodness it's sliced and not chopped, so I probably won't start crying before I get this onion done. I also read about why onions make you cry. Like, when they get abused, like when you cut into them, it's like a little chemical reaction happens and it causes something that irritates your eyes. If you have a really sharp knife, they say less tears.
Okay.
And also, I think there's a certain direction that you could carve it.
I've also heard that if you stick your tongue out
What?
while you're cooking, that somehow that's supposed to help.
I never.
Isn't that crazy?
Does it work?
I've tried it. I probably look ridiculous, but
Yeah, we want.
I don't cry as much. So,
Well, that's good to know.
but I have heard that.
So the onions are prepped, and we're not ready to put it in the meat yet. But I wanted to, because I did look and see how in the world you even prep collard greens. They're real. Some of them are really long, but you really do not want to put the stem. You really don't want to eat the stem. It's really tough and everything, but there's a quick way. So here's a collard green leaf. Just fold it down the middle, take your knife, and just take out the stem. I've done most of them, but I wanted to show you how to do it. It's really easy. All right, now they want them in ribbons, not chopped, but in ribbons. And that was easy too, so I just laid all these leaves in a stack, roll them,
It's a great idea.
and start chopping about, 1/2 inches. I can tell just by cutting them, they're tough. They need a lot of cooking. Okay, so this was how I've got it all ready except for this last batch. So, how are we doing on the meat?
It's looking good. Getting softer.
It's going to cook for 1.5 to 2 hours, so the meat's going to get done.
Yeah.
But if you browned meat is a little bit more appetizing, so that's why. But it's probably a time that we can add. So then we're going to add the onions and the collard greens into the mixture of the meat, and we're going to continue to brown until the vegetables get a little bit tender and the onions start to kind of turn translucent. All right.
Okay.
So the onion slices. That does smell good. Stir those up a little bit.
I wish there was a way we could
And then the collard green ribbons.
wish we could let people smell this. It smells delicious.
Yeah, I hold top.
Thank you.
You want the collard greens to wilt
Okay.
and the onions to get a little
So pretty.
in 2 hours it's all going to be wilted.
Yeah.
I think more flavor will come out of onions, especially if they're a little brown. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, just mix it all together.
All right, now we are going to also put in the spices. A teaspoon of smoked paprika. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Half a teaspoon of black pepper. All right, now it calls for 1/4 a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. That's what I put in the one I did last night, and there's a bite. So if you don't like it, you know, you can use it none of it or even half of that. I'm going to put a little bit less in there. Okay. All right, now here come the spices. Paprika, garlic powder, black pepper, and red pepper, onion flakes, and smoked.
Okay.
Pretty wilted, so I think you can go ahead and put in the wet ingredients. This is 4 cups of chicken stock, unsalted. So you really do need to get it unsalted because andouille has a lot of salt in it. After you put in the onions and the collard greens mixed with the meat, then it's time to add the spices. And I put in a teaspoon of smoked paprika, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and 1/4 a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And you just stir that around, and now we add the liquid. I put in 4 cups of chicken stock, unsalted chicken stock, a can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, and 1 cup of water. Now you bring that to a simmer, and then you just keep it at a low simmer, and you cover it, and you let it cook for 1.5 to 2 hours. And then you adjust, like for salt and seasonings if you want, and it's ready to go. But I have to tell you a big tip, and I found this to be true with any kind of soup that has tomatoes in it or like a vegetable soup. If you cook it the day before and then you put it in the fridge, 2 things happen. The flavors somehow just magically just pop. But the best thing is, if there's any fat, which there will be because you put in sausage, if it's in the fridge all night, the fat will just it'll go up to the top and it'll harden. And so the next day all you have to do is just take a spoon or a spatula or whatever, and you can just pick the fat out of the soup and throw the fat away, and you still have all the flavor and big flavor. So, you know, you can eat it the day you make it, but then any leftovers, they're going to be better.
Yeah. Let all those flavors melt together.
They do. I think I think it is some kind of a chemical thing that happens with the acid in the tomatoes and everything. But I love to give dinner parties, and I always try to find a soup to serve as an appetizer in a little, so you can just drink it. And so that's why I try a lot of soups. And we're having a dinner party tomorrow, and guess what soup we're having?
You've already made it.
and it's really good to have with cornbread, which we're going to whip up a batch of cornbread while this simmers.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna we'll be right back to make the cornbread. And what goes better with comfort food and collard greens than cornbread?
And a rainy day.
And a rainy day. So we'll be right back, and we'll make that cornbread.
Yeah, the cornbread to go with the soup. And honestly, if I could have found a box of cornbread mix in my pantry, that's what I would have used, but I couldn't. So I found a recipe. It's called Texas cornbread. And I looked at a lot of recipes, and they're almost all the same. You've got flour and cornbread mix. Most of them have a little bit of sugar in there, and they also have the leavening. There's baking powder and baking soda and a little bit of salt. And then either milk, buttermilk, one said sour cream, some kind of liquid. Okay, so I went ahead and did the dry ingredients, and I don't use a sifter, I just use a whisk, and I put them all in the same bowl. This has the cornmeal and the flour and the salt and the baking powder and baking soda and a fourth a cup of sugar. I put that in there. And so now all I have to do is add the liquids, and it's a fourth a cup of melted butter, a half a cup of regular milk, 1 cup of buttermilk.
I feel like that might be a secret ingredient.
Yeah. Well, I was reading about baking soda and baking powder too, because sometimes you use one, sometimes you use the other, but if you mix them up, it can be disastrous.
Yeah.
But they're both leavening, and they're both bicarbonate of sodium, but in different, not sodium, soda, not sodium. But baking soda has to have an acid and a liquid to make it react, whereas baking powder already has something in there, so that's the difference. But
Yeah.
sometimes you need both and one. And you don't have to use a mixer, and you don't, cornbread batter is just pretty simple to make. You can make it in a pan, you can make it in a cast iron skillet.
I like the size of these little muffins.
Yeah,
Just kind of makes a little couple bites.
especially if you're, serving it for like an appetizer or something. It's like a finger food. Okay, it's mixed up, and now I'm going to put the batter bowl between us. You fill these little muffin cups up like 3/4 of a wide.
There goes your clock, Becky. Becky has a bird clock in her kitchen, and so we're always just kind of waiting for it to go off.
Yeah, but there's a story behind the clock. When I was deaf, and when I finally had my cochlear implant, my neighbor across the street, who happened to be Warren Culbertson, when my husband told Warren that I could hear birds now, he wanted to get me a bird clock. And
So sweet.
he couldn't find one at Hobby Lobby, and that's when he had to go all the way to DeSoto or wherever, Cedar Hill. And so somebody in the store heard him asking, and she came over. She was a customer, and she said, "I have a bird clock, and I want your neighbor to have my bird clock." And Warren said, "Oh, that would be so nice." She said, "Give me your address, and I'll bring it to you." And he said, "Oh, no, I want to give it to her today." So he followed her home and got the bird clock, and it has significance. And yeah, it can be annoying sometimes, or, but it's only had 2 batteries that I can remember in 15 years. And the first time the clock died, and this is true, it was the day Warren died.
Aww.
And after we got over his death and everything, we thought, maybe we won't put a new battery in there. No, Warren will always be a part of our lives, and every hour we're reminded of it.
So for those of y'all that don't know, Warren was a weatherman, correct? For Channel
11.
So he's kind of one of those old school weathermen that just sweet man.
And also, I don't know, Ron Chapman, but older people remember him. He was a wonderful radio disc jockey, and he just died.
Yeah.
Well, I remember
Just saw
that Warren was the weather person on Ron Chapman's show on KVIA.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, now that looks sloppy.
Okay,
It
That's
doesn't
all right.
matter.
it's gonna taste good.
I sprayed the pans with Pam. I didn't use my one with the flour. I just sprayed the pans with Pam, and they came out just fine. And you only have to cook them for 10 minutes. So that's one
Okay.
reason I like these little ones.
Yeah, that's
And it probably looks like we can, since I added the milk this time, which I left out this morning, I have much more batter.
You do.
Yes, I do.
Lots of muffins.
Yes. I bet you could freeze them,
Yeah.
You can add bacon or cheese or onions or jalapenos. I've seen all kinds of recipes. So yeah, this is really a completely comfort food dinner, lunch, brunch, whatever.
And you know, just because it's springtime doesn't mean, you know, still have soup.
That's
I feel
right.
like I could eat soup all year round.
Me
And-
too. I'm getting more and more like that.
Yeah.
And you know what I've noticed? In the stores, they're carrying less and less kinds of soup. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that?
I haven't, but that's weird.
Really. The soup aisle is getting like really small. I don't know what the deal is.
I love making soup though, and like trying different ones, and then it makes so much that then you get to eat on it for a few days, and it's just easy leftovers.
It is. I also, when I try a recipe the first time, I always go exactly how they say.
Yeah.
But then if I like it, you know, then I start tweaking, and I've already decided that I think that soup would be really good with corn in it, or maybe even like navy beans or pinto beans. I mean, I think it's just a broth base that you could use for so many things. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to put those in a 425 degree oven for 10 minutes.
Okay.
When I serve soups at a dinner party, I try to pick soups that you can just swallow out of a glass. But I found these cute little, these are coffee cups that I got at Wally's. And so I figured if they're coffee cups, they can have hot stuff in them,
Yes.
you know. So I thought this is just as fine, and you could actually have a spoon. And you just dip it up. Just do a little tasting here. And you really couldn't, I mean, if you want to eat all the parts of it, you really do need to. And the little mini muffins.
Little muffins. Awesome.
Now, the collared ribbons, they are a little hard to eat if they do that. So
That's why you want to get them.
you could chop them, but heck, you're eating collard greens.
Might as well just
Yeah.
go for it. All right. Taste that.
And it does have a bite because that red pepper in there.
That is good. And the onions are just like so
It's
soft,
the broth.
and the broth is so flavorful.
It has so many layers, you know, your first bite, and then it just keeps hitting you with more layers. Like right now, it's hitting me with the red peppers. But I think it's all the spices that are in the andouille. You know, it has to be, plus the smoked paprika and the fire roasted tomatoes. But I do think you could add whatever else you want in here. Don't leave out the collard greens and the andouille.
No, that's a must. I do like that spice though.
Yeah,
That's like
you
a
know.
spicy finish.
I don't know if you'd want a giant bowl. Well, if you had it in a big bowl and you could crumble the cornbread in it, you know, I think you
That would
could
be
even
good.
put rice on it like you do gumbo. But it's a thin broth.
Yeah.
So if you want to make it thicker, throw in some okra.
Yep, that's true.
Okra and collard greens, you're going to turn off a lot of people on it.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's my my new find. You know, when I find a recipe and I try it, and most of the time it goes right in the trash. If I like it, it goes in a page protector in one of my binders over there, and I'll cook it again and again. So it passed the test.
Yay.
Becky's Kitchen.
Okay, and Bob, did he like it?
He likes it,
Yeah.
but he doesn't like the collard green ribbons.
Okay, so maybe chop the collard green ribbons a little more so that they're easier to swallow.
That's right. Well, thank you for visiting Becky's Kitchen today.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you next time.
Let us know if you make this. We'd love to hear how you enjoy it and if your family likes it. But we'll be back. See y'all soon.